5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sir, we are live now.
Good evening and warm welcome to the 15th session of Story to 10. The topic for today's is a long journey or the long distance journey by car. And the speaker is our own group leader, Dr. Tejus Naik. Dr. Tejus Naik does not need any introduction, but briefly for those who are watching this program on YouTube, Dr. Tejus Bhai is a pediatric and neonatal surgeon practicing in Ahmedabad. In addition to medicine, he has a deep interest in arts, antiquity, numismatic, Indian history, and also a keen interest in exploring India, wildlife, and also teaching. He is also well known for his philanthropic work amongst the tribal area of Gujarat. So with that short introduction, I request Dr. Tejus Bhai to deliver his talk.
Thank you very much, Dhiren bhai. This is a very unusual take on long car journeys. We are very happy to travel large parts of India by car from Ahmedabad. And I thought I would share my experiences about the fundamentals. This is not about our car trips, please. So this is not sort of a tour report, but this is the lessons we have learned about long car journeys. Good evening, my dear friends. I hope you will enjoy this. And I start with a share. And this is a very subtle share which says, Manzil mil hi jayegi, bhatak kar hi sahi. Gumrah to wo hai, jo ghar se nikle hi nahi. हम सब घर से निकलते रहते हैं, किस तरह निकले वो हमारे हाथ में है. We here present our method, and that is long journeys by car. Now, here, let me start by saying that if you want to travel long distances by car, what are the three basic requirements, prerequisites, as I say? First, obviously, you have to be a travel lover. Most of us might feel that, oh, everybody is a travel lover, but it's not so. We do know some of our friends, relatives who may not enjoy this. So you have to be a travel lover for such trips. Second is very, very important, and that is you have to be a driving enthusiast. In Ahmedabad, also, in your own cities also, if you don't like driving, then this is not for you. And the third is also important, and that is we must have enough days for this journey, because the car journey itself takes some days. The first group of points that I'm going to discuss to start with, because we must start by why a car journey. And that is what are the advantages, the upsides of a car journey. Obviously, we have started by saying that we are a car driving enthusiast. And that is why we are pursuing a hobby. The way someone plays tennis or someone makes paintings, same way, if you like car driving, this is pursuing your own hobby. You can observe and enjoy the scenes, towns, and cities on the way. This is generally not possible by train or plane, and you can do that very profusely if you're traveling by car. You can enjoy local cuisines at the dhabas. You can enjoy local cultures. You can stop anywhere you want. Of course, this also, obviously, if you are flying, you are missing the entire in-between area. You can take even offshoots. We have done that. I'll just give you a few examples at the end, and visit interesting places which otherwise you might have missed. A car with you is a great convenience for traveling around your final destination. So you have reached somewhere, you still have your car. Of course, you can have a taxi after reaching, but particularly if you are staying for a long time, this is our new way of traveling, our family. That's when we go somewhere, we like to stay there for a week, 10 days, sometimes for a month. If you're staying for a longer period, then a taxi waiting for you there may not be that convenient, or even price-wise very convenient. Long leisure hours with your loved ones. People you have in the car, your friends, your spouse, children. You have long leisure hours in long drives, and you can converse with them, communicate, which you could not have done during your busy schedule in your city. Travel cost benefits, I will just touch upon it. Maybe it is not too important, but it has to be taken as an adventure. This, like bungee jumping, rafting, or paragliding, is an adventure. You cannot always say that, oh, this is the discomfort, these are the dangers and all. But every adventure has a danger. So not only it is a hobby, it is an adventure hobby. With this, I have divided the discussion, my talk, in compartments. So first compartment, the upsides. I conclude with one great advantage, and that is the attention you have to pay during driving. You have to remain extra alert, pay attention to multiple parameters. This is known to be a great mental exercise. The way you go to a gym, you do cycling, jogging, improve your muscles, improve your health, same way driving can improve your mind. And it is known to delay some of the age-related mental problems also. So next chapter is car. And obviously the first question is, which car? If you realize in the bottom right, I have placed a sedan, and some of you might have felt, why has he not shown a strong SUV? I'll come to that. We are in long journey by car not talking about off-roading, and we are not talking about driving on bad roads, because that is a different ball game. And of course, there are long car journeys in which people go to Leh, Ladakh, the Northeast, and you, of course, cannot take your sedans. Otherwise, except for these, any mid-sized, which is a 5-seater or a large size, 5, 7, or 8-seater car, which can be a sedan, hatchback, or SUV, is good enough for a long road trips. It is my experience, and I have quite a bit of experience, large cars, including SUVs, like Innova, Fortuner, Endeavour, Caravan, have obvious advantages of big. Obviously, they are large, and that is why they would accommodate more passengers and luggage. But they also have downsides. First major one is their upfront cost, and also passing through small towns and cities and marketplaces and parking in places. So they do have some advantages, but a mid-sized sedan or SUV are good enough. And we mean, some examples are cars like Hyundai Creta, Kia Seltos, Jeep Compass. They are mid-size SUVs, but many of you might know that they are glorified SUVs. They are basically sedans with a SUV body, and a good sedan like Hyundai Verna, Honda City, Maruti Ciaz, some of the Skoda cars are also good enough. They have many important features. Some of them are better than the mid-sized SUVs and cost 20 to 50% less than those SUVs. Now, 4 most important features to consider in a car are obviously safety parameters, boot space, because you are traveling long distances, you require more luggage, road clearance. I will talk a bit about road clearance and driving comfort. Now, road clearance because I have driven in last few years in my Honda City. Everybody says a low car and it will hit obstacles. It never has. You might say that there are bumps in which it may touch, but you should realize that there are smaller cars driving all over the highways and lower cars than Honda City or other sedans. And we are not going on rocky roads where a stone may hit its bottom. So I leave this discussion here by saying that road clearance of about 180 millimeters is good enough. 200, 210 millimeters are better, but it is not necessary on most of the roads. What are the safety parameters in a car? Dual airbags, almost all cars give. Anti-lock braking system, electronic brake force distribution, structural rigidity, ESP or electronic stability program, 3-point seat belts with pre-tensioner, all the modern cars have, and reverse parking and sensor cameras. If you Google, you'll find out that these are the most important safety parameters in a car. And most of the modern cars, medium and large sized, give these safety parameters. Talking about the structural rigidity, you will see that many of the SUVs, mid-sized SUVs that you love, may have less of structural rigidity or safety parameters than many of the sedans. The second chapter is how far can we go? In long trip means how far? There is no limit to the distance you can travel. It depends only on the days available to you. For this discussion, the word long, because from the beginning I have said a long journey by car. By long, I have meant more than about 1,000 kilometers, at least more than 800 kilometers. Now, why more than 800 kilometers? Because it requires at least one night halt on the way. So basically, you are going 1.5 or 2 days in one direction, and that I would consider a long car journey. In this map of India, I have shown a circle which is from Ahmedabad about 800 kilometers. So if we are traveling beyond that, we would call it a long car journey. For a new vehicle user, you may consider more than 500 kilometers as a long car journey. But still, if you realize Gujarat does not figure from Ahmedabad. If you consider Ahmedabad is the city, then entire Gujarat, you have traveled Gujarat, it is not a long car journey as far as this discussion is concerned. The next is how many days? Now, how many days? Of course, as many days as possible. But because we are saying at least 2 days one way, which means 4 days, then there is no point in spending only 4 or 5 days at your destination. So if you have only 8 or 9 days, there is no point in going 800,000 kilometers by car. Roughly, I have arrived at this from my experience that the time you spend at the destination should be about 3 times more than the days you travel by car. So if you are driving 4 days by car, then you should be staying at least 12, 14 days at the destination. In other words, the driving days should be less than 25 to 30% of the trip. So say if your trip is 15 days, then you should keep your driving less than 4 and vice versa. Actually, the days spent in driving, because I repeatedly say is 4 days to and fro, would constitute a long journey. But these days are not just a car journey. But we must understand they are part of overall fun, and sometimes it comes out to be greater fun than the destination where you are headed. And that is why the car journey is part of your fun. It is not just like a flight, you spend tedious hours waiting on the airport and then you travel uncomfortably in tightly packed seats in the flight. You get down and get a taxi and go. No, this journey is converted into a long car journey with great fun. The next discussion is preparation before a long car journey. I have divided into these 4 parts. The preparation of the car, preparation of yourself, preparation about the route you are going to take, and the luggage you will take. The car. Many of these things you will find foolish. Of course, they are obvious, but still I will go ahead and mention them. You have to check all the official papers, the RTO papers, the taxis. Particularly PUC, insurance, driving license, and FASTag are important because they have expiry dates. FASTag does not have an expiry date, but your account may be empty. And it will create problems on the way. And that is why we must check about expiry dates of PUC, insurance, and driving license, and FASTag, keep them in order. Get the car serviced and checked in all the ways, engine, water, oil, etc., and particularly wheels, balancing, and brake. Again, as I said, it is foolishly simple and obvious, but I will go ahead and mention them. Puncture gadgets, you must check. I know quite a few instances in which friends told me that they had a puncture and they found out that they did not have the gadgets. And they had to stop some car and get the help. This should not happen. On the contrary, if you are going on long journeys, you must have something extra like extension rods. You know that the jack and the bolt opening devices are fairly short, and to extend them, you might use extra rods. I have found a use of a thick wooden block or a stone tile very useful to put the jack on. Those of you who have changed the tire, punctured tire, might have realized that the usual jacks provided in the cars, they go and become very tall. And then at the last part of it, it is very difficult to jack it up. Instead of that, if you put the jack on a strong a wooden block or a tile and then do it, it becomes much more easy. There are, of course, many modern jacks available. If you are a frequent driver, then you can use them. Extra mat or stool, particularly when you want to tend a puncture, etc., or a breakdown, then this might be useful to sit on the ground and it would be useful. Thick rope and chain. Sometimes this may be life-saving. Twice it has happened that our car got stuck, once in mud and once in sand, and we had to find out a tractor to pull it out. At those days, I had a Xylo, and it was a huge car. And the tractor wala did not have proper devices to pull. Even a metal rod broke. Luckily, I had the Swiss mountaineering rope, and that came in handy. So sometimes this would be useful. We have to have clean seat covers, cushions, shawl if it is a cold weather, or a stole, and window shades. Now, this is very useful. We have regularly used sheets prepared from plastic, opaque plastic, which we put in the windows and turn the glass up on the sunny side. Not only that, when most of the travels, only my wife and I are there, in that case, in the back windows, we keep these shades. This prevents heating of the car a lot, particularly when you're traveling. So this can be very useful. Cleaning cloths, wipers, you must check because sometimes they are broken and they may create a problem during rains. How do we do our own preparation? Now, we must get health checkups, medical records, medicine in order, particularly your medical problem related and age related. You must carry them with you because wherever you are going, if there is any problem, you can, at least the copies of these may be with you. Medicines you must carry. Also check hotel bookings, addresses of destinations and details. We have made one mistake. We reached a hotel a month in. I mean, we had booked for the next month and we had not checked the reservation. So it does happen, but that is not related to the car travel itself. Keep personal documents handy, like driving license, Aadhaar card, PAN card, visiting cards. And these may be in original as well as copies. So wherever you are going, we travel a lot in national parks and the sanctuaries where original papers are required. So sometimes they may be needed, and most of us do carry this. So again, this is obvious. Do not eat uncooked outside food for a few days before travel. You don't want to have diarrhea on the day of travel. And that's why we have to be very careful a few days before going on long car journeys. Also, relax and sleep well on the previous days so that you don't get tired when you are actually driving. The route. As far as possible, not the night stays, but the route should be pre-decided because you can find out if there are any problems there. Also, you need to tell your family here wherever what route you are taking, which is very important. I mean, which way you are taking, because in case of breakdown, in case you then don't get the network, then somebody would know where you are. Spend some extra time in advance to study the route on Google Map. So you should not just sit in the car and start the Google Map and then go. A few days in advance, you must check the route. Also choose 4 or 6 lane roads whenever possible. And if you expand the Google Map enough, you can actually see lanes of the roads. We have found this very useful. It is my wife's work generally that she would expand the roads that we don't know, because we have traveled the highways, we know them. But otherwise, the roads we don't know, we find out whether they are divided roads, 4 lanes, 6 lane, or single. Get information about condition of the roads, repairs of the roads, the traffic, weather, etc. from Google. The color pattern on the roads, we know the red, blue, etc. would tell you the traffic. Google Map is not always enough. Sometimes when you're going to strange places, remote areas, then it is better to ask someone who knows about this. I have a good friend who has a big transport business. I often ask him to ask his friends that in that state, that area, is this road okay or not? Google will not always say that. And that is why those who have recently traversed the roads, you can take their help in finding out the condition of the roads. The luggage, a great advantage of traveling by car, unlike flight, is the great amount of luggage you can carry. As I tell my friends or relatives that except for a gas cylinder, we carry almost everything. And there is no harm in traveling heavy. That is what I believe. My son is very opposite to me. He's in US and he would travel with a small attaché and can spend 7-10 days in different places. I can't do that. A lot of luggage you can carry according to your need, but for that, you cannot have too many people in the car. Any mid-sized sedan or SUV will not accommodate more than 4 persons comfortably. The back seat, though they say 3, it will not accommodate more than 2 people comfortably on long car journeys. So you should limit the number of occupants to 4. That also would limit the luggage. But if you have a lot of luggage, still avoid putting any luggage on the top of the car. I thought that this is illegal in India or illegal in the hilly roads, but I see so many cars doing that. I found out, tried to find out the law regarding it, but I have not been able to. I avoid it. Never put luggage on the top of the car. Not only it can fall, not only it would be a drag, a wind drag, and would increase the fuel consumption, but your mind would be there, you know, that it might fall, and that is also an attention you need not pay. Everybody is by now thinking, why are we traveling long distances ourselves? Why are we driving ourselves? Why not take a driver? Of course, I'm a driver when I'm driving, but by driver, we mean a paid person, salaried driver. Now, we started by saying that you have to be a driving enthusiast. If you are a driving enthusiast, why are we talking about a driver? We are going not to cover a distance. We are going not to reach a destination. We are going to enjoy driving also. And that is why, that is the downside. But driver obviously has a great advantage. He is an assistance extra person who can be helpful, particularly in adverse situations. But my take on drivers are these. He intrudes on your privacy. If you are with your wife or children, you want to talk about things, finances, any private, private talk, you cannot in presence of the driver. Now, he occupies an extra seat, obviously. So we are talking about 4 people maximum. If there is a driver, only 3 can go. His personal hygiene and habits sometimes can be a nuisance, particularly if he's chewing tobacco or smoking, and most of them do either one of them. He may not be as flexible about food, meal timings. His mood will affect the atmosphere. Sometimes you have had an argument with him and that would affect your atmosphere. You have to arrange for his stay, which is not easy in many places. If you're traveling to remote areas, then it is not easy to arrange for his stay. He may be as unfamiliar about roads as you are, because we are going to distant places. I mean, how can a Gujarat driver be familiar with roads in Assam? And that is why that way he is not going to be of great help. And he is a major extra cost on a long trip. I would say between 1,200 to 1,500 rupees per day is added. So if you are going for 20 days, just think that a driver would jack it up to 25,000 to 30,000 rupees for the trip. Our next issue is our journey itself, the car journey itself. And this I have divided into these components: when to start, what speeds we should drive, hours of driving per day, precautions, navigation, how to spend the leisure time, and the halts. Let us start with when to start. Obviously, starting in early morning is best, but do not get up too early. My rule is do not get up more than 1 hour earlier than your usual waking hours. If you are waking up at 7 a.m. every day, don't wake up earlier than 6 a.m. if you are going to drive. Because if you wake up too early, then you will feel sleepy on the way. Speed, obviously, I don't have to say anything. We know the speed is dangerous, but I found this very useful chart. The red line is a designated speed limit on that road. We know that all roads have speed limits. Some have 60 kilometers per hour, some have 100. Our new expressways have 120. Now, this designated speed limit has a meaning. Experts have arrived at it with reason, because as you can see, the chances of accidents and mortality increases rapidly if you go beyond the designated speed limit. And that is why designated speed limit actually is something you should ignore, actually, because you should remain much below it. Another thing I found out was, if you drive fast, your field of vision reduces. You actually see narrow as you drive faster. And that is why you miss out on things which are on the sides. And that actually may be a danger. So as you see here, if you're driving at 50 kilometers per hour or 100 kilometers per hour, what is the difference in the field of vision this picture shows? Basically, we do not exceed 100 kilometers per hour, preferably not above 90, even on best of the roads. And on most of the Indian roads, it is generally not possible to exceed that anyway. But even if the road allows, it is better that we do not drive above 100 kilometers. Your maneuverability and the damage with impact all are reduced if we keep under 100. Your maneuverability is increased and the dangers are decreased. Now, what are the good roads? I said on the good roads. These are my definitions of a good road. It is wide, means it has more lanes. It has a central divider. It has a good road surface without potholes, which is almost nearly impossible in India. Adequate signages are there, and disciplined and less traffic. Last is also important. If there are alternatives available, find a road which has less traffic. Surprisingly, highways of most of the states of India, and we have traveled almost all, except for most of the Northeast. Highways of most of the states are better and wider than those of Gujarat, often. Only thing is the inner roads of Gujarat are better. And that is why it is the fun of driving on highways. It has increased in most of the states now. If we keep a speed of 90 kilometers, then with the halts and slowing and everything, ultimately at the end of the day, you achieve an average speed of 60 to 65 kilometers per hour. So this can be taken into consideration for how much distance you can travel per day. So at 90 kilometers, you get about 65 kilometers. Speed limits on Indian roads. This is interesting. On most of the national highways, it is 100 kilometers. There are a few expressways now where the speed limits are 120 kilometers. Even there, it is better not to go beyond 100. Usual state roads have 60 to 80 kilometers, and inside the cities and on hilly roads, about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. Now, speed checking. Speed checking by police, in our fairly vast experience, we have seen it is uncommon, but it does occur. I have been caught speeding just 5 kilometers above the speed limit twice. And that is why it is better not to exceed it. Remember that speed checking by police does occur on highways. Next is how many hours you may drive per day. Any person who is fit, and that is why he is going on a long car trip, can drive 10 to 11 hours. If we see 10 to 11 hours, anybody might say, oh, that is a lot, but it is not. Please understand, if you have left at 7 a.m. in the morning, 10 hours means just 5 p.m. So it is still day, afternoon. So at 5 p.m., you can then stop. And that is why 10 to 11 hour driving, which means at 65 kilometer average, you can drive 600 to 650 kilometers in a day. Though we have occasionally driven much more than this under certain circumstances, we generally do not exceed this limit. Our limit is 700 kilometers a day. We must stop soon after the sunset while it is still bright. One must not wait till dark, and our rule has been that we should not switch on the headlights. If that it is that much dark, it is too late. So we must stop before that. But stop earlier if we are tired or sleepy. Our many trips are north, going towards Himachal, Uttarakhand, etc. And our first halt is generally Jaipur outskirts, which is 650 kilometers from Ahmedabad. It usually takes us 10 to 11 hours. Now, what precautions we must take while in the journey? Again, some of them are very obvious, but some you will find useful. Most important is speed. We have already mentioned that. Follow all the traffic rules, and I don't have to enumerate them. But all occupants must deploy seatbelts. After the incidents that happened in Bombay, in the Mercedes, everybody has now started realizing that the people sitting at the back also must wear seatbelts. This is very important, particularly in highway and high-speed driving. This is next point you may not have realized. The driver must wear well-fitting shoes, not sandals or chappals. Sandals, chappals are inconvenient. Sometimes you may find have difficulty during driving. But remember, the insurance companies, if they find out that you have undergone an accident and you are not wearing shoes, will create problems to pay. And that is why it is always important to wear well-fitting shoes while driving. Do not use mobile. It is a rule, even hands-free. Many of us use hands-free saying that it is safe. It is not. If you have to take an important phone call, we must stop. Again, this is very obvious. I should not be telling this. See in all three mirrors and give signal while changing lanes. There are always blind spots when you are seeing in the mirror at the back. If a car or a vehicle is close to you, you may miss it even in all three mirrors. And that is why sometimes it is important even to look rapidly back if somebody is there or not when you are changing the lane or overtaking. This is important. Assume that others are going to take break rules. It is not only important that you don't break rules, because others may. And that is why you have to be careful yourself. Drive very slow through towns and when close to people or animals. Our rule is, if we see anybody on the sides of the road, we slow down. We assume that that person or an animal is going to cross the road, particularly a child. And also, we have found that a child, animal, and an empty rickshaw, they can cross the road anytime at the you'll bump into them, and that is why it is better to remember it can happen. Keep a constant vigil for potholes. We have suffered even on best of the roads, and we have traveled some expressways. Indian expressways also have potholes, and these potholes, an inch or so is okay, but many of them are 4, 5, 6 inches deep. That would totally shatter your wheels if you bump into them at a speed of 100 kilometers. So we have to keep a constant vigil for potholes. If we are parking somewhere on the road, we have to park in such a way that we do not have to reverse it on the highway. In other words, we should not just go front and park. It is better to reverse and park so that when you are starting, you will be seeing the traffic and you will go in front instead of reversing. Drink enough water, keep exercising the legs, and be in a good mood. These are basically physiological and anatomical necessities. And stop when sleepy. No night driving. Stop when sleepy is very important. Sometimes I have felt sleepy. What we do is we just park it under shade and sleep. Any time of the day. I've done it at 2 p.m. I have done it at 5 p.m. There's no harm in stopping and sleeping for 15-20 minutes. It will make you fresh. You can splash water on your face and then you can carry on. One very important thing to remember is articles that can roll forward under the seat, particularly under the driver's seat, should definitely be avoided because they can wedge under the brake pedal, and you can understand how hazardous that can be. This, I'm sure all of you realize, are possible. So loose rolling objects should not be there because often they fall from the seat onto the floor and then they roll forwards. Many modern cars now do have a sort of a dam under the seat so that nothing that rolls from behind can come forward. But still, it is better to take this precaution. Overtaking. Now, why am I mentioning overtaking? We know that overtaking is like that. The red is a wrong overtaking. When you're overtaking, obviously, we must go slightly forward, not turn in front of the running vehicle. But this is worth remembering. Most of the roads have slight slope towards left. And that is why the trucks, which should be driving on the left side, we realize that most of them drive on the right side. We are talking about one side, okay? The other lanes are in our lanes. So if there are 2 or 3 lanes, the trucks prefer to drive on the right side of those lanes. And that is why we often see this situation. We have to overtake from left. This a driver cannot see easily if there is anything going in front of it. And that is why this is where the role of the person sitting next to you, my wife, Payal, I always mention she does 40% of driving, I do 60%. Because all the time you have to navigate this, the person should tell you that there is nothing ahead or there is something and don't overtake. Because a driver sitting on the right side will not be able to see this. So this is also important on highways. Mountain driving is no different from any other driving, provided you avoid narrow, bad roads and heavy traffic on mountains. So most of the mountain roads going to and around our major hill stations are at least 2-lane and they are good roads. And that is why you just have to follow the 3 important things: drive in your lane, do not speed, and horn frequently. And you are okay with this, not just okay, mountain driving is actually a great fun. Navigation. Now, the best way is to chart your entire route on Google Map and expand it. Sometimes it happens on the way you do not have network, and then you are lost. And that is why if you have expanded it before going the entire route, then and you have to keep it on when you have done that. After that, you sit in your car, and the Google will keep on functioning pretty well after that. Google Map is not accurate in guiding through cities, often even on highways. And that is why do not hesitate in taking directions. It is said that males hesitate in taking directions. Don't do that. We have often suffered, and we have often learned, and we have often benefited by asking directions, particularly passing through cities. Always expand the Google Map greatly at complex junctions and whether to climb a bridge or not. We know that often there are bridges and we have to decide we have to go on the left below the bridge or take the road up. The Google will show you only if you have expanded it. If you have not, then it will just show a line and you will be confused. So you can slow down, expand the Google Map and check that which path you want to take. The time shown by Google Map as the time to reach your destination, because if you have put your destination, and you must put your day destination, not your final destination. So where you want to stop at the end of the day. So that destination, whatever the time the Google Map shows, is generally accurate. I have seen that because Google takes into account your usual speed, halts, the blocks on the road, etc. And that is why we can trust that. In navigation, I've already said, take directions. You may have physical maps or even written directions for important places because, again, Google is not to be trusted 100%. Never hesitate in taking directions. How to spend time. Music is a great way. Conversing with others, telling stories, hearing their stories, planning. But avoid long, quiet hours, because that is what will make you sleepy, bored. That is dangerous on long drives. Avoid heated conversations, obviously, and avoid what makes you tense. You have to be relaxed while driving. Avoid stuff that makes you think. This is my take, like Antakshari or quizzes, because if you are playing Antakshari, the person who is driving will have to think that which next song should I. Don't do that. It will divert your attention from the road. And that is why do not get into things which requires you to think intensely. Have snacks, toffee, mint, chewing gum that will keep you fresh, and take any opportunity to stop on the way. This is very important. Halts are important, and halts should be at least every 2 to 3 hours, because you get tired, your car is heated, and that also, maybe you might say modern cars don't require that, but they do. And that is why maximum 3 hours you must halt. The reasons for halt are obviously there for nature's call. In India, I have seen petrol pumps are best options. They generally today now have good toilets. And that is why you can stop at a petrol pump. You can combine it with the fuel if you want to have fuel refill. Our rule of fuel refill is when your tank is 2/3 empty, get it filled. Because you don't know where you are going to get the next filling station. And that is why there are some roads on which you may not get it for 100 or 200 kilometers. And that is why when the tank is 2/3 empty, it is best to get it filled. Be ready to pay cash because not every petrol pump would have a functioning device for the card reader. You can use the same petrol pump to go to the toilet. Toll tax halts have become short. At one time, they used to be 5-10 minutes. Today, they are just a few seconds or a minute or so because of the FASTag. You may stop for tea more often than you take the tea regularly. We generally take 2 times regularly, but on the roads, we take it 3-4 times. Not only it is a halt, the tea also brightens you up, and like a coffee also. For meals, we generally spend extra time. So lunch is generally at the midday. And that is the time when we can just stretch your legs on a chair and sleep. I often relax for half an hour extra after having a meal. And that is a time which we can spend about half an hour or 45 minutes in one spot. And that will again make you fresh. When feeling tired or sleepy, the rule is just park and sleep any time of the day. This is very important. Many accidents occur because the driver was sleepy. Stop at every opportunity, like enjoying scenery, buying fruit from a vendor, whatever opportunity you find, stop. I have heard my friends who go on long drives saying, we drove without a stop for 10 hours, except for one stop for a toilet or something, which is a very foolish thing to do. Please remember, on a long trip, stop maximum every 3 hours. Night halts, the hotels on the way, there are many hotels these days, but there are places where there are none. And that is why if you have to search for a hotel which you have not decided, start searching much earlier. If you start searching after the sunset, you may take an hour or more finding a hotel. And that is why it is important that either you find it on the Google, or if you have already traveled the area, you know where it is, or search early. When stopping at a hotel for the night, park the car away from collision hazard, away from the highway. Ask the hotel management about security of the park car, because we never empty the car during the halts on the roads. Our luggage is in the car. Only a small bag we would take, or important things. We generally take cash, laptop, and cameras, and a small bag. And that is why if there is a security camera, security man, that is important for the night halt. The cost factor. I have seen that at the current rates of fuel and air travel post-COVID, the car journey is just as expensive as air travel for 2 persons. So if you are 2 persons traveling, it turns out to be like, but in air travel, you have to add the taxi, which is then extra. But the car journey is much cheaper if there are 3 or more persons. This is not related to car, but I have made an interesting list of tour costs. These costs are per day for a couple. So if you are going on a long car journey with a 3-star hotel stay, it will cost you 5,000 to 6,000 rupees per day for a couple, for the whole journey, per day. A semi-luxury trip by flight or car, which we generally do, costs 8,000 to 10,000 rupees per day. A luxury trip with 5 to 7-star stays in India would cost you 15 to 20,000, but there is no limit to it. We know hotel rooms which are 30, 40,000 rupees. There is no limit, upper limit to that. But this is a general guideline. And please remember, our usual journeys are 20 to 40 days. My journeys. And that is why I cannot afford a 4 lakh journey if it is a 10,000 rupees per day for 40 days. And in India. So it is really reasonably priced also. But we all know that a foreign trip costs some 60,000 rupees to 1 lakh per day for a couple. So, of course, foreign trips are foreign trips. I mean, we should do it, but this is also we should realize that in price of this, we can spend so much more in India. The downsides, this is the last part, and that is first and foremost, consider that long car journeys are an adventure. That should dilute most of their downsides because it is fun, but it has downsides. One is tiresome, obviously. You get tired driving long hours. But please remember, if your journey is 30, 40 days, the long journeys are only for a few days, 3, 4, 5 days. It's not every day you are driving 700 kilometers. And that is why out of your 15, 20 days, just 3 or 4 days you are driving long. And that is why it should really not matter. It is tedious in situations like puncture or a breakdown, but that can happen for anything, and we have to be ready for that. Accident risk largely depends on you. Also, of course, on circumstances on others who may who may be driving rashly, but that is obviously an inherent risk. But it is there everywhere in different percentage. Train, of course, plane, anywhere it can happen, you have to take that risk. To conclude, I'll just take 5 last minutes in showing you our car journeys. Just showing you. Our car journeys more than 3,000 kilometers. Our usual car journeys are 5,000 kilometers. And this is the 800 kilometer radius from Ahmedabad. And I'll rapidly go through some of our journeys. This is not single journey. I mean, each arrow shows one or more journeys. There are some arrows on which we have traveled 8 or 10 times. Shimla and surroundings in Himachal, Manali and North Himachal, Amritsar and Kashmir, Garhwal, which is the western part of Uttarakhand, Kumaon, which is the eastern part of, this is the most traveled part. Kumaon, we have traveled about 8 times by car from Ahmedabad. West UP, which we mean Lucknow, East UP, which we mean right up to Kashi, then North MP, which we mean, Khajuraho, South MP, then Ajanta Ellora, North Karnataka, Hampi, Konkan and Goa, obviously Bombay on the way. So these are our trips. But one major trip we did 2 years back was to Northeast by car from Ahmedabad. It was 11,000 kilometers in all. We were 2 persons driving, my friend, myself, and my wife. There were just 3 going, so 2 persons driving. And it was about a 50-day trip. That is the trip which occurred during the second wave of COVID. We had left before the second wave started. Anyway, so that is our monumental trip. And these are our trips so far. The total outstation driving we have done, not counting Ahmedabad city. Here I do count in Gujarat and everywhere else. So not counting Ahmedabad city driving is about 2 lakh kilometers. So this is the great fun involved in long trips. And the following few photographs I'll show before conclusion are situations which we may have missed, but for our car trips. Because we were driving, we could get this scenery. Things like this, we don't see this if we are flying or going by train. There are so many beautiful places. Now these pillars we found on sale on a road, and today these pillars add on our entry. So sometimes you can find wonderful things, art like that. This is a cave in north of Gujarat, which the local person told us that you have to park your car and go half a kilometer, and it was a wonderful place. You can find some funny animals. This is a yellow-throated martin. It just was running towards us and stopped seeing us. We got such a good picture of it. Lots of snakes. I mean, all of you have seen snakes dead and alive on the roads. These are jackals, foxes. Now, once we saw some movement in a nearby tree, it was already nightfall, and we realized that it was a leopard. This was just 6 feet from us. So we do get some great surprises like that. Once we came across a flock of elephants. This was a dangerous situation. If the elephants had turned back and charged at us, they could have finished us. This is a tree near Orcha we saw on our way. This is one of the largest baobab tree in India. The dhaba eating, all of us know, can be great fun. We have seen many monuments on the road. Once we were traveling from Nashik to Ajanta, we saw a board, Gargoti Museum of Crystals. We just took an offshoot, went half a kilometer on that side, and this museum is one of the best museums of crystals and minerals. And it is worth seeing. A very huge building and things like that. We see these are cave temples in Himachal. Again, we followed a board which was saying there are cave temples. We took the offshoot and we could find this. But this was one of a wonderful thing near Ahmednagar. We were passing and we saw a board pointing towards a farm, a field. And there was a kacha road, half a kilometer. It was saying Cavalry Tank Museum. We went there and you'll be surprised. And you must Google this, Cavalry Tank Museum of Ahmednagar. They have 150 well-preserved tanks. The entire thing is so well preserved. And this happens to be the second largest museum of tanks in the world. So things like that, many sceneries we can come across. We thought this is a Batman, but he was a man carrying the plastic chairs. And this is a Jugaad we saw this vehicle driving, and we didn't realize, because there was nobody sitting on the motorcycle, still it was running. And then we saw that the motorcycle wala had altered this vehicle like that. Again, something we could see because we were on the roads. So these are some of the scenes. The kids feeding the cat and the goat wanting its share are the scenes you only see if you are on the road. So with this, I conclude. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Thank you very much.
Yeah, superb, Tejas bhai. Your vast experience of 2 lakhs kilometer journey is really, we could feel and see in the presentation. Yeah, now the session is open for question.
Tejas bhai, can I ask?
Ajay Nishit bhai.
Yeah,
Amazing journey, everybody knows about this, but the way you have covered everything is phenomenal. And thank you for enlightening us for this. I want to ask you that, have you found any difference in the quality of petrol that you get on the highways and in the cities or in the towns?
No, but we do not go to seedy looking, simple, bad looking petrol pumps.
Right.
If there is a proper, if the company is known and if it is a properly run big petrol pump, I don't think there should be a problem. I don't think anybody should worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, costing is something which, for example, Rajasthan is 12 rupees more than Haryana. So what we do is
and Gujarat.
Then Gujarat or Haryana. So both the sides. So we fill up when we enter the Rajasthan. Generally, we know that we require about 700 rupees of petrol in Rajasthan to pass it, because every time we go north, we have to cross Rajasthan.
Right.
So on the way back also, we do that at Haryana-Rajasthan border. But it hardly makes any difference, if you see. But that is human mind,
Yes, absolutely.
Human mind.
Yeah. But because previously it used to have a lot of bad quality and I also want to know that once you come back from the journey, let us say
Yes.
2,000-3,000 kilometers, not small kilometers, 4,000-5,000 kilometers. What do you do with your car?
I generally take it to my car garage. I get my car serviced and checked by a good friend of mine who was my classmate who has a garage. Because these companies, basically I don't trust them. So I always leave it to him, and he would check some basic things and give it back to me. And I have seen in modern cars, almost nothing goes wrong.
Okay.
On the way, of course, one I forgot. On the way, we must check every few days the oil, the waters, two water in particular, the wiper water and the coolant. And the wheel pressures.
Any major accident you had?
Pardon?
Any major accident you had?
Not major accident I had. I bumped into a car which had stopped because a truck had stopped ahead of it. It was, but it was not so much that we had any damage. Even the bags did not there was some damage to the front. So these things do happen, because but we have got into, as I told you, we have been stuck in mud. And in Jaisalmer once, people had told us that you can go in white looking sand, but don't go in brown looking sand. And somehow I took it there. Brown looking sand is wet, and it is like a daldal. So
Yeah,
I got caught, and I had to. And I told you at that time, my Swiss rope, which I had bought from an army shop in Dehradun, came in handy, a Swiss mountaineering rope. So things do happen. Punctures fairly often. The problem with a puncture is you have to empty most of the cars. You have to empty your boot to take out the tire.
right. And do you carry pump?
I do.
Like automatic pump and extra tubes?
But if there is a puncture, it won't work, because
Yeah.
generally it will not work.
Okay.
But you have to know, I mean, you can't just stop being healthy adults. We can't just stop on the road and like a small girl, wait for somebody to help you. That should not happen.
Right.
But let me tell you this, punctures are rare. Let
Okay.
me tell you this. In modern cars and modern wheels and modern
Roads. Yeah. No, amazing the way you have put everything in the perspective. Yeah, beautiful.
Tejas sir, can I ask the question?
હા બેન બોલો
કેમ છો આપ? મજામાં છો?
હાજી લીનાબેન.
It was really a very fantastic, and you have covered all the technicalities and so many points you have covered. Just my question is, what is your guidance and risk factors for about the only women long car drive trip?
Ma'am, my wife, see, I often tell my wife કે પાયલ આપણે બહુ remote area માં ને એવા જંગલમાં ને એવું નથી જવું, તું છે મારી સાથે. And now she is so violently angry on me કે હું એટલે શું કે હું I am a support, I am not a liability. Ma'am, I have seen many ladies travel alone, and there is no problem, except that in strange places you should not drive at night. Otherwise, on roads and everything, there are vehicles. So totally isolated roads, I wonder, I mean, that is something, I don't know, the situation would tell you. But I would not advise a single lady, because if you get into problem, an accident, a puncture or something, that is the time when you might find it slightly, I'm not a chauvinistic person, but you might find it slightly difficult as compared to a male person. But obviously, put that aside. You must travel, and there is absolutely no problem. And I know many ladies who have traveled entire India, and there are some I know who have gone even outside India by car.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Any other question?
Atul bhai, kem cho? Mute.
Somebody asked any difference between the manual and the auto car?
Yes, a great difference. Those who have always driven manual car are comfortable with it because they have not driven automatic cars. You drive automatic car and everything is different. On the roads, you are more relaxed. Particularly in the cities, you are more relaxed. On the bumps, you are more relaxed. It is definitely an advantage. And some people have told me that automatic jo bagde to tame shu karo? And my answer is that manual bagde to tame shu karo? Apanne banne nathi avadta. એટલે I think my minimum requirement in a car, besides the safety feature, is automatic and petrol.
Why not diesel?
Why not diesel?
Diesel.
I have some environmental issues in my mind, and also the price difference is decreasing. Even it emits the fumes which are not bad smell, and always a diesel vehicle is slightly rough in driving than a petrol vehicle. My take, okay? Forgive me if I am wrong somewhere, but my vehicle was, I have driven 2 lakh kilometers, including Ahmedabad, driving in my Xylo. Xylo was a diesel vehicle, a workhorse, wonderful vehicle. I let it go because I had driven it 11 years. The body was rusting, and there were no airbags. Otherwise, I would have kept it. So I did drive a diesel vehicle all those years, but it is like, every other comfort, Nishit bhai, that now we have tasted blood.
Yeah.
A petrol car and a more comfortable car and more comfortable seating and automatic car is definitely an advantage. And
Did you-
sitting also, sitting high or low, I think it is a foolish discussion. It is individualized. You may like sitting high. I like sitting low. A Honda. I have a Honda and an Amaze. Amaze also I have driven right up to Himachal and in Karnataka, to Karnataka also. So I think any mid-sized car with good safety measures is a good car.
Right.
There's
Right.
absolutely no need to have a large SUV for this purpose unless you want to show off.
And what is your take on EV?
EV, I'm very much against EV. I'm sorry. EV is something on the highways, it is useless. And if you really study the eco-destruction EV is doing, you will realize that
Absolutely.
we
Absolutely. I agree with you.
are just exporting the eco-destruction to the countries which are manufacturing the cells.
Absolutely.
And we are keeping our country and our surroundings clean because it is an electric vehicle.
Perfect.
So, and pickup and all for long travel on highways.
No. The battery is not adequate.
Otherwise also. And just realize 50% of cars even become EV. Where is the electricity going to come? I have lots of I see lots of downsides about it. I will not buy an EV because I am a driver. I like to drive on highways. And even the batteries, they say 4 or 5 years you have to change them. It costs some 20 lakh rupees. So it is not all good. You have to see both the sides. You have to see both the sides.
Yeah, Mr. Ankit Gandhi, please unmute yourself and.
Yeah, hello Tejus bhai.
Okay.
It was very nice presentation.
Ji.
Yeah, and you have covered so many things and very nicely. It was very interesting to hear about. I just have one question that with a small car like Tiago and Alto, how far we can travel? On one day?
Sir, all over the world. Let me tell you this: on the highways, and now I hope you trust me as an experienced driver on highways.
Of
All
course.
over the highways, if you count 1,000 vehicles, you will realize that 70% or 80% of them are small cars.
Okay.
And if you
Right.
see big SUVs, as I said, the Fortuner and all, they do not constitute more than 5%. But we may say that small cars are there because they go from a town to the next town, and that is why they are on highways. It is possible. But if you go on mountains, the commonest cars used are small cars. And that is why if you take precautions, in small cars, I have only one problem, and that is safety. If you are knocked, you are gone. And that is why, except for that, there is absolutely no problem in driving long distances in a small car. A small,
And,
you are not saying a small car, but say less than the mid-size I mentioned.
Yeah, right. And how far, in one distance, one shot, how much kilometer we can travel?
I already
Ideally.
covered that 650. Say if you see books, Google it, they might say 500. That is too less. With 100 kilometers, you can drive in 10 hours about 650 to 700 kilometers. Not foolishly, but I have driven maximum 1,200 kilometers, 1,200 kilometers in one go. That was our trip to Assam. We were coming back, and the second wave of Corona were already established, and we had to shorten or reduce the number of hotels we wanted to stay. We were in Lucknow. We were thinking, where would we stay on our way back to Ahmedabad? And we just drove, and there were no vehicles on 6-lane roads, smooth like velvet. There were no vehicles. In 1 hour, we would see one car. So we could drive at a speed of 110, 120. We reached comfortably to Ahmedabad, 1,200 kilometers. That was an exceptional situation. We don't do that. We generally don't go beyond 700.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for your comprehensive answer. Thank you.
Sanjeev bhai, jeep nikalo yaar.
Please unmute yourself, Sanjeev bhai.
मैं तो अच्छा है साहब, दूसरी बार सुन के और भी मुझे ज्यादा मालूम पड़ा.
I know, आप तो वहां भी थे Tuesday में.
I just want to know
Yes.
After how much kilometer car tire should be changed if you are driving so regularly?
No, sir. It depends on the car tire. I mean, if they're worn off, I have seen people change perfectly good car tires. We should leave it to the experts. Like we go to doctors for health checkup. We should leave it to the tire expert and ask him, "Ke bhai, divas thai gaya ki nahi?"
But minimum it should be.
No,
there's
no,
no
sir.
better-
Kyunki, what roads we are driving, kilometers will not tell you. Because what type of roads we are, the highways we drive generally are velvet smooth. We have driven on, you know that Bombay Delhi expressway is being constructed. I'll be on that road after 3 days. I wrote in Tuesday group, I had to go for some ceramic things with Payal. So from Dosa to Delhi, it is ready about 150, 200 kilometers. Sir, you can't drive on that road in less than 110 kilometers. If you're driving less than 110 kilometers, you will feel you are walking. It is that wonderful. And it is 8 lanes. So roads
I
have
know
become
that.
so good that the tire wear and tear is very less, very less.
So,
Yeah, there is a
and
question
already if
from.
you have a punctured tire,
Yes.
so do you have in your mind that you are driving in a car with already had previously some puncture?
No. I have driven once. We drove over a broken bottle of alcohol, and there were 10 punctures in the car, in the wheel, and other wheel had 8. We got it mended. I used those tires for 2 more years.
That is,
Generally, if it is well mended, and particularly in tubeless tires, they can work wonders.
Yeah, there is a question from Dr. Atul Munshi about how do you manage heavy rains?
Heavy rains, stop. Heavy. I mean, I put insistence on heavy. No, stop. There is no point in taking that chance. Our usual rain is not heavy. So mild to medium rains, it is actually fun. But heavy rains, particularly if you're finding it difficulty in seeing the vehicles, it is best to stop for the time.
Okay, thank you very much, the audience and Tejas Bhai, for a wonderful interaction. And really, this was a great learning experience for all of us.
Thank
And
you.
I'm
so much.
sure that your suggestions are going to be of great help and the point of encouragement for everyone to try into this,
You must.
particularly.
You must.
Yeah,
The-
someone
the
like
heaven,
me.
The heaven lies on roads. Please.
Yes,
understand
absolutely,
that. The
absolutely.
heaven lies on roads.
And the cycle.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
Dhiren bhai, do remind them that this talk will be there on the OrthoTV YouTube to watch, so they can tell their friends also.
Can I give you a suggestion?
Yes, please.
This is way now. Next time you also take a cycle carrier and cycle with you.
I know that would be
That will be, that will give you additional.
most certainly well taken.
Because
I will meet you to find a good cycle, but I think that is a wonderful suggestion.
Yeah.
Wonderful suggestion.
Thank you, everyone, and bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you. Hi, Tejdeep.
Hi, thank you.
Tejdeep is another person who drives long distances, but he is the one I called foolish. He would drive for 14 hours and reach beyond Delhi in a day. He has driven to Ladakh, Leh, and Kashmir and whatnot. And he has a hotel in Abu and many businesses in Ahmedabad. A very close friend, almost a brother to me.
What is the name? What is the name of the hotel in Abu?
Aravali. It's a famous hotel. As you
Taravali?
Aravali.
Aravali. Okay.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and have a great night ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, everybody.
What are you called Nancy? It is in the back.